All right, we're live. All right, sorry. I got to remove our guest. She's a surprise. All right, first off, my apologies. It just says Denny. I forgot to put in Claudia
That's
in
fine.
front of you.
That's
Usually you're at your house.
yes.
And I'm here
Yes.
and I didn't change it.
Yeah.
So there you go.
And that's quite all right.
All right. Well, this is going to be different today.
It's going to be a different one, but
So we are going to do our best to get through this and also be informative and encouraging and helpful to those that are tuning in.
Yes.
You remember how to wear those headphones? You got to push it. Remember, you got to put it way up on your forehead.
I meant to bring the other ones, but
That's
anyway.
all right. That's all right. All right, you ready to go?
I am.
We have an audience, and it's building. So here we go. Good Health by Claudia, podcast with me, Denny Schaefer, a production of Denny Radio. This is episode 46. Woo! All right, here's a disclaimer, people. We gotta satisfy the suits. The information contained in these podcasts is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or health condition. Please consult a qualified healthcare professional if you do have a medical condition. The FDA has not evaluated the information on this podcast, which represents the opinions of the hosts and our guests. And we do have a guest today.
Yes.
But before we introduce our guest, Claudia, I have to say, and to let everybody know, this is not going to be your typical Good Health by Claudia.
Right.
First off, we're back in my attic again, you and I together, because this is kind of an important, and I am anticipating a very emotional podcast, Good Health by Claudia. But this is something that, we're all going to have to deal with at some time in our life. Maybe not to the extreme that you have or our guest, but we all deal with loss somehow, some way, and how you deal with it. So today we want to find peace and acceptance after a loss, specifically a loss of a child, grief and hope through unfathomable pain. And you have been there. So let's just start with, why are you in the studio today with me? Why are you not at home?
Well, because I wanted to be next to you. So
chicks dig me. They just dig me, even at my old age.
Just because I wanted to be sitting here with you.
Well, and it's an anniversary, and it's not a good anniversary.
So today, our oldest son, Vincent James, would be 31. And normally, I retreat from the world. Mm-hmm. But, our podcast is important to us.
And it's the day of our podcast.
And it's the day of our podcast.
That's some irony.
Yes. So, and I, Vincent left us 8 years ago.
Okay.
He was 22, just a month before his 23rd birthday. And he was with his very best friend, Brandon, and they were four-wheeling. Mm-hmm. And the four-wheeler flipped, and Vincent was killed instantly. Mm. And so, it put our life into a trajectory that no parent ever wants to go or thinks about going. But, life unfolds, and here we are. So that whole summer before he left this earthly world, he was nagging me to start a podcast. Because when I had my radio show back in whatever it was, 2005, 2006, and I loved being on the radio, and I always talked about getting back on the radio, and he would always say, "Ma, forget the radio. You got a podcast. You got a podcast. A podcast, new thing." So he literally was nagging me right up until the day he left us. And so, I truly believe God has a plan. I don't think anything in life is random. I know everyone believes what they choose, and I honor it. For me personally, I think everything happens with purpose. Mm-hmm. And the fact that his birthday lands on a Tuesday, which is a podcasting day, I just had to wrap my heart around that and say, okay, I guess we're gonna pay honor not only to Vincent, but to all the sons and the daughters that have left before their parents. And we're going to pay honor to the parents that walk that daily journey of sorrow, because it's a very, very difficult one. And it really never ends. It just transforms. So
it's interesting that a year ago we weren't doing a podcast, and now it's been, another year, and his anniversary lands on our podcast day.
Yes.
That is very interesting. Yes. I don't think that's a coincidence. I think Vincent is thrilled that mom is not isolated in the home by herself with
Yeah.
the curtains drawn or the shades drawn, and you're on your second bottle of vodka.
Well,
And no, I'm kidding, of course. But no, there's you retreat. Okay. But you're not doing that today.
no,
And
I'm
that's a
not
good thing.
yeah.
And it's not going to be easy to go through this podcast. So
Right.
I salute you
Well, thank you.
and your strength for this. And we have a
Thank
guest.
you.
Her name is Angela Christensen. She owns Angela's Angels in Sylvania. And let's bring her on. She knows your pain, doesn't she?
She knows. And Angela, hi, Angela.
Hi, Claudia.
I'm so grateful you're here with us, and thank you so much for sharing your heart with us. Angela has her own story, and she's the reason she opened her angel store. She'll share that with us. How long have you had the angel store, Angela?
It's been 19 years. So we opened it 2 years after we lost our son, Nick. Similarly, Nick was killed in an auto accident July 19th of '01 and left us very, very abruptly, just like Vincent.
Yes.
Not only do you go through the shock of it, but
Yes.
loss it's just unimaginable. We don't expect to outlive our children. So I've always had a connection to the angels. I didn't really know, exactly how and why I was. And now I can see where Nick's death was the catalyst for what I'm supposed to be doing now.
Yes.
I honor all people who have lost children and loved ones, but I know there is hope to go on with our lives, to honor our children. And
Yes.
that's what I try to tell people. I get people in every day. We sell, of course, angel items and that kind of thing, but my specific job is to talk with people who have had loss. Just
And people come from all over the country to your store. I mean, you've inspired so many people. And it's if there's one thing you and I have talked about many times, it's learning how to take such an unfathomable pain
Mm.
and transform it into love and all the, just helping us to become better people because of it and sharing that with others. And that's what you've always done. So we're very grateful. You've been a great inspiration for me and for many others. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And what I try to tell people, and I know you and I've talked so much, we were friends before this happened with Vincent, but now we become in this quote group no one wants to belong to.
Nobody wants to be in this club.
Nobody does. So it's a very tight knit group, and you are very well aware of other people in that group. And what I try to convey to people, and this is just my journey, everybody has different belief systems, everybody has different understandings. You do have to process your grief, you do, and the shock or whatever you go through. And but then once you come quote out of that shock, that loss is there the rest of your days here on this earth.
Yes.
So you try to have to make sense of something that really doesn't make sense. We're not supposed to outlive our children. And unless someone goes through this, they really don't understand.
No, they don't.
And I
And we don't want anyone to understand, right?
get angry. I was trying to explain it to people, but you can't.
You can't.
So I just am glad they don't understand, because then they don't have this loss, and that's fine. So I know you help a lot of people, of course, with your health and your store. But this is part of life. So
Yes.
you have to also have an understanding for this too.
I think that with loss, finding acceptance in it is extremely important.
Mm-hmm.
And especially when it comes to the loss of a child, because like I was telling someone the other day, a customer was talking about Vincent, knowing that his birthday was coming up. She was at his celebration, many people were there, which we were very humbled by. And I said to her, yes, it's been 8 years, but it's not just the years, it's the minutes, it's the hours, it's the days, the weeks, the months that you live life, and that child, their spirit is there, they're with you in your heart, but they're physically not there.
Right.
And it's a tough reality to grapple with. And I know for us, we were very blessed to have very loving, supportive people around us, very dear friends. We have family members, and they were there literally to hold us up. And you and I have talked about, Angela, parents. I mean, parents that lose children, they grieve every day till they leave this earthly world. But according to how the child has left this world, that's a whole nother layer of stuff.
Right.
We know, what happened to Nick. We know what happened to Vincent. Vincent was having fun with his best buddy, being 22. No, he wasn't harmed by someone else. It was just God called him home at that moment, and that was it. But not all parents have that. They don't know, there are parents that they don't know what happened to their children, or their children were harmed by other people. So there are many levels to parents dealing with this type of a tragedy. I know when Vincent was gone instantly, just like Nick was, that now unfortunately I understand shock, because shock is a whole nother. I mean, shock is like, running into a 10-foot brick wall. You're going 200 miles an hour in a car full speed ahead. I mean, it just shatters every part of you. And I truly believe I was in shock for 2 years.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah. But it's, again, one thing that I always remind people of any kind of loss, but especially with children, you have to take it one day at a time. And sometimes, especially earlier on, I mean, when that first initial trauma hits, nothing, like you said, nothing makes sense. It's like an out of body experience. It's a very, very difficult experience. You don't want anyone to experience it, but unfortunately, many parents have. But it's, we just have to, you and I have talked about, there's different phases of grief.
Right.
And as time, everybody says time heals. Well, it doesn't actually heal grief. It allows you to learn how to handle grief,
Right.
how to
It's how you
process it.
time. It's how you use that time.
Yes.
I know some people that have chosen, and I believe that everything in our life is a choice, every single aspect.
Yes.
Nothing is random. Our soul has chosen every single aspect of our life, but we do have free will. So I feel that how you use your time is very, very important. You can sit for 3 years in your dark house and mourn and never come out of it, never try to work on anything.
Right.
But if you choose, let yourself heal in whatever way that is, but choose knowing that you're going to want to go back to the land of the living, is what I call it.
That's what I call it, the same thing. It's
We are
true.
reason we have chosen to come to this planet at this time. And I believe that Vincent and Nick and us, we agreed to this contract on some level.
Yes.
So what am I going to do with this?
Right.
What am I going to do with this? Can I make it more harmful to me, or can I like to, it's not really jokingly, but I say all the time, when I cross over someday, I know I'm going to live pretty long. So when I cross over, I want Nick to be proud of me. I want him to
Right.
greet me saying, Mom, you did a great job, instead of, Mom, what the heck were you thinking?
Right.
Like, come on now, you could have done better. So, I mean, that's one thing that kept me going for a long time. Then I also try to tell people, if your thoughts are things, where you put your energy is very important. You might not feel it at the time, but just know you're not going to be stuck in this place forever. It might take months, years, that's okay. But just so you have the knowing that you won't always feel this way in this raw grief, you will find joy in some aspect of your life again. It's not going to be the same. It's not going to be the same life, but you can find joy again. And it doesn't,
Yes.
you're not going to cry anymore. I mean, I can still cry at the drop of a hat.
Yep.
At anything to do with Nick and going back to those days. But I choose life. I choose joy.
Yes.
choose to go forward because, hey, life is short. I mean, I've already lived 22 years with this loss. I never in a million years thought I could do that. Never.
Right.
I couldn't fathom that. So I think you and I, just by the fact that we're walking and talking and doing our best every day,
Yeah.
inspires people. We don't have to say a word. Just if they know that what happened to us and say they had a new loss, they can say, look at Claudia, she's still doing, great. And so you're an inspiration just by the fact that you're out in the world. Because this is truly, truly, I think, the worst loss you can have.
Mm.
Um,
Yes.
Yeah, I can't imagine as a parent that there would be anything more painful and shocking, like you said. But let me ask you this. You said you were in shock, Claudia, for 2 years.
Yeah.
Was there a moment after the 2 years where some kind of defining moment where you're like, I need to start participating in life again?
Well, that's an interesting question because right from day one, Jim and I knew that we needed to stay present to be with our other boys. We knew that right from day one. As difficult as it was, we were present in the best capacity that we could be. And when I say I was in shock for 2 years, something that I really went by the time I was finally able to go back to the store. In fact, a lot of people don't know this. It took me a couple months probably to go back to the store. Maybe I'd go for an hour at a time, and, that's about all I could handle. The first time I really ventured out, I went to see Angela. I went to the Angel store,
mm,
and, 'cause I needed that connection, I needed the strength, all of that. So,
mm,
we were functioning, but not normally. So, we weren't sitting around, we were doing our best even in that even in the early stages of this trauma to keep going for our boys, for our family, out of honor to Vincent, because Vincent he has a heart of gold. He's always been the leader of all his friends. He's very strong, he's very courageous. He wouldn't have wanted us to crumble,
Mhm.
and we knew that. And so when I mean, we were, here's the thing. In the very beginning, the first week or two or whatever, we couldn't, you can't, I mean, you can't, didn't want to lie down, sit down, stand. You can't do anything. You don't know. You got to remind yourself to eat. You got to remind yourself to bathe, to get up in the morning, to help your children and feed the family. You got to remind yourself, but we did it. And, I was very blessed. Jim and I did it as a team, and we still do it as a team. So, but after that couple years, I was finally starting to get my thoughts back. I couldn't remember, I've always been able to remember what I've put a customer on or what their health issues were from 35 years ago. And over the first couple years, I could not remember anything. There were people that I knew, and sometimes I had to stop and think, what's her name again? Or where do I know this? It was that kind of a, it was that kind of a thing. So, but I do remember very clearly, because I've always been one to, when I hear music, I don't care if I'm standing in line shopping and the music's playing, I'm going to be moving to the music. It took me 4 years. One day I was out, in fact, I was at Anderson's, and I was, I heard some music or something, and felt myself moving to the music, and I thought, I'm
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so
That's a good day.
yeah, it was a good day. It's a slow process. And I think that, for those that are around people that lose children, that's a very difficult situation for people, for friends and family. Nobody knows what to do.
right.
Nobody, it's very uncharted territory. Nobody knows what to say, what not to say, what to do, it's a weird thing. So through that whole process, as I said in the beginning, we were very blessed that we had people around us that were there, that were, helping us to keep moving forward. Not everybody has that. And so, my mom always taught me, she always said, no matter what God brings you in life, you find the blessing. She always said that. And from the day of Vincent's passing, that's how I personally have survived this, had to find the blessing. And of course, the blessing for us is that Vincent didn't suffer. As parents, we'd rather take the suffering.
Yeah.
We're grateful he didn't suffer.
Exactly how
And
I feel. Yep.
So let me ask you both, because I think this is an important question. So you have two boys, three, but
three,
two,
one with God and two here.
right?
Yes.
And I don't know about Angela. If you had other children,
I have two remaining children, a son and a daughter. Yep.
okay. So where's the line where, you know, the kids don't want to feel like, well, mom only really truly cared about Vincent or Nick because there's such a huge deal. There's so much grief. It's every birthday. It's every anniversary of their passing where you go into, you know, what, I mean, how do you play that so the other kids don't feel like maybe they don't feel as important? Is that a fair question to ask?
It is. Yes, it is. And Angela, I know you're going to answer this, but I just want to say, for us, you know, we homeschooled for many years. Our boys were with us every day at the store. We were always together, always. And I believe that, in fact, they have said they never felt pushed away. They never felt ignored or neglected. And so that's what I'm saying. Through all that trauma, for Jim and I, it was very important to as close as we are, we pulled in closer. So hopefully our boys would say that they never experienced that, but many children that that have their siblings have been lost feel that way. I don't know how did you guys do, Angela?
That's a troubling thing. I had a support group for many years that we talked about this, because as a parent, you know, you can't help but have this deep sorrow with you all the time. And then the other children, it's not a fact, but it's an illusion that they feel very real, that, oh my God, my mom, you know, and dad, because I know they feel sometimes they've lost their parents along
Yes.
sibling.
Yes.
I, to this day, feel bad about like guilty, because I thought at the time I was doing everything I could, checking in with them. But you're so limited, you know, with your capability at that, because you're just suffering so much. But I know that this has greatly changed the lives of my children as well. And then when I opened the Angel store, I did not want my other two children to think I did it, quote, in memory of Nick, because I never did. I've never put that out there. I've never put it in anything written describing my store. I put the fact that he was the catalyst. His transition was the catalyst for me to do what I'm supposed to do with my life. I think that was the purpose of him and his passing, and that for me to do my work and with my store and with helping other bereaved parents. And then my children, they don't have their own children. So I think until you have your own child of your own, you don't know the love that is that extreme love that you have for children. And I know it has affected them, and I know it affects all the siblings, no matter what, because the parents do change. They change. And the whole dynamics change, because now that family of 5 went down to a family of 4. And in my case, I lost my husband 7 years after Nick passed. So we went down to a family of 3. So we have had a double whammy, so to speak.
Yes.
And so my life greatly changed. And like we were talking earlier, you have to decide, like, you know, the vision you had when you're first married and you have your babies is, this is my family. They're going to grow up and we're all going to grow old, and then they'll take care of me. And, you know, we don't expect to outlive our children. But then when that doesn't happen, you have to eventually form a new future of like, you can't, like, I've dropped a lot of expectations in my life, because we just kind of think everybody's going to do the same thing, you know, and we'll grow old together and the kids will outlive us. And when that doesn't happen, you have to create a whole new life.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean that you can't be happy again. And that's what I try to tell people. Just stay the course, have faith, whatever your faith is.
Yes.
Live forever. This pain will not be there forever. And we choose to find joy. And whatever that is, take a walk for the day. You know, if you want to have your pets around you, whatever that is that brings you comfort, because you won't always feel this way. You'll always have the loss, and you're always going to have a different family dynamic. But there are many, many, many people walking around that have lost children. It still amazes me how many times people come up to me, total
Yes.
strangers, and tell me their story, and only until they know you have lost a child do they come up and tell you that.
Yes.
Well, there's that bond that
Yeah.
they can't get with anybody else because
Exactly.
you've experienced the grief that they've experienced. Now, this is a Good Health by Claudia health and wellness podcast. Are there certain things when you get hit by grief like this, or you lose, any loved one, a husband
Yes.
or wife, or is there are there any products or any things that you should do that could not necessarily lessen the grief, but if you go off on a bender and start drinking every day all the time, and I make
Right.
jokes, but that's not good. I mean, that's not
Right.
going to help
No.
you, and it's going to
No.
lead to depression and who knows what. But
Right.
are there certain things that you have at your store?
Well, there are, and of course, I've got two of them with me because they're with me because I use a lot. But we've talked about the nervousness and anxiety, homeopathic, and that's a wonderful product.
It is. I use it every day before I go on the radio.
Nice.
And I use it anytime at home. And my wife says, "Hey, we need to talk about something." So I go to them and I put like 6 drops in. I'm like, "Give me a minute, let it kick in." I'm here to tell you that stuff is amazing. It's so good that it's sold out, and I'm waiting for the order to come in because I'm almost out.
Yeah, it's on the way. And so the other product that I use is Rescue Remedy. Now, this is just a little bottle I grabbed from my pocket, but Rescue Remedy, and these are products, remember, nothing helps take grief away. In fact, I always tell people when they're starting this journey, wrap your arms around your grief. Don't push it away because grief doesn't go away. I always say you can't, when I go to work, I can't put it on a shelf and say, okay, grief, I'll see you later when I get home.
Right.
It walks with us in our life. So these are products that can help energetically support us emotionally. So nothing takes that pain away. But these are wonderful products. In fact, when parents come in and they've lost children, or even anyone in loss, I had somebody the other day, they lost a dog. I gave them a bottle of Rescue Remedy. I just give it because they need it, and it's helpful. So, yeah, there are products. In fact, that would be a separate episode we could do on different products to help, you know, uh,
I
lift
would
people emotionally and mentally.
I would say too, for me, what helped is I took a lot of walks. I'm fortunate. I live in the country, and I would take my dogs, and we would go down the lane, and I would just, I could cry, I could scream and yell, I could
Yes.
talk to Nick. I could just, talk to God, whatever I wanted to do in my privacy, but in nature. And I would say too, be with other parent. What helped me was support groups with other parents, or even one-on-one. I went to lunch with another mom for many months. Just her and I could go and talk, because truly only another mom understands.
Absolutely.
So you can
Yeah.
bare soul to somebody. I feel like it's a poison you got to get out. So verbally get it out, and talk till you can't talk about it anymore. Like talk about your hardcore feelings, and eventually you realize, I can talk without crying anymore. And I feel very strongly on support groups and talking to other people too.
Yes.
Talk-
And I never went to one, but because we have the store and people were
Yeah.
coming in,
Right.
that was
That became it.
that became
Yeah.
yes, that became
Right.
it. But
All right, we got a lot of comments here, and I just want to pick it. And let's see who else. Suzanne, they wanted to know the name of the product, so I typed them up and I put them in there. It's called
Thank you.
Rescue Remedy, and the other is Newton's Nervousness and Anxiety. Unfortunately, you guys are out of the Newtons at the
it's
moment.
coming. It's coming.
It'll
in.
be coming. So just stop in or call Claudia, see when they get in and get in. I'm telling you, this stuff, the nervousness and anxiety is amazing.
So before, because I know we're
Yeah,
running out of
I
time,
was
but
just gonna
just a couple
say-
things.
Okay, go ahead.
So Angela, when you go for walks, I love that. It's very important. I think for me, when I say I retreat, I'm always in my gardens. So
Yep.
my gardens have
But
been my
Yep.
my place of finding peace and connecting and all those things. But I do think it's important to touch the earth. When you're in grief, you got to touch the earth. You got to hear the birds singing. You got to look at the trees, how beautiful they are. But the other thing, couple things before we run out of time. Two things. I think you said about expectations. I think this is and we could talk for hours about this, right? Well, we're just starting the conversation, but with expectations, I think it's important to not make expectations for ourselves, because we just have to allow ourselves to walk this journey. As I said, sometimes it's minute to minute, especially in the beginning. But also for people that are around grieving parents, don't have expectations for
Right.
them. And most of all, don't take what they say or do personally,
Right.
because there are things that they might say or do that they either didn't mean to say it that way, they couldn't get their thoughts together for it to come out right. That you can't take grieving people, especially parents, personally, and certainly don't have expectations for them. And one other thing, and a lot of people that have not lost children want to give advice to people that have.
Right.
So I would just like to say, you don't ever want to give advice to
Right.
a parent that's lost children.
Yeah.
If you haven't,
Yeah.
and again, we don't want anyone to lose a child, but unfortunately,
Right.
many people have lost children. All you want to do is let them know you care.
That's it.
Just say,
Love on
I
'em.
care about you. I love you. How are you today? I'm giving you a hug. Something. It doesn't have to be anything elaborate. It's just,
We devoted a whole chapter to that. The book that Regina El-Khatib and I put together.
Oh, your book.
We
should have had you show it.
Oh,
I'm sorry. I forgot.
Stop in at Angela's Angels in
It's
Sylvania.
whole story. It's a whole chapter on what not to say and comments. It's very important. It'll educate people. So we'll do another-
I'm glad you brought that up, that you do have a book. It's very helpful to a lot of people. But what do you guys say? And yes, I know we're going over.
It's okay.
It's okay. It's not like we got a boss yelling at us. Hurry up, get the commercial, Shaper. Okay, now I lost my train of thought, because I lost my nephew about 10 years ago. Man, it's been over 10 years. And my sister's
Wow.
never gotten over it. She's moved on, but she doesn't get over it. I mean, she was the joy of her life. And I know Sharon, my wife, lost her niece in the 90s, and you just never get over it. You get past it, like you said.
Or you move
forward.
You moved forward.
Right. And you look for the blessings, like
yes,
you said.
Exactly.
And they found comfort in things like butterflies and cardinals and pennies and just,
right.
I believe those are a kiss from the Lord.
Yes.
But what do you were saying, don't have expectations. What about people that you thought were close to you and then they've kind of drifted away?
That's a very
interesting. And it might be because they don't know how to talk to you about it, because they struggle with their own emotions.
Yes.
How do you deal with that? It's like, well, I thought they were a better friend. I never heard from so-and-so.
Right.
Do you ever, did you have somebody like that in your life? Did you ever go to them and say, hey, I want you to know I still love you, and maybe you're having a harder time with this than I thought. You're uncomfortable around me now. I mean, has relationships ended because of this?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they have.
Oh yeah.
And, and it's sad. And some are in our family, but it's again, like you're saying, first of all, everybody deals with grief differently.
Right.
I don't care how many people are in one room, they're all going to grieve differently. And we have to honor that. But it is difficult when you think someone's going to be there for you and they're not. That in itself is a lot to deal with. And, I'll be the first to say I experienced that and I took it personally. And I don't want to take anything. I don't want to take it personally. And so these are tough moments in life, but
Yeah.
all we can do is keep moving forward and do the best we can with them. So to answer your question, yes.
But
All right,
Dynamics
Angela, my
change.
sister is actually watching right now, and I'm sure this can't be easy. What does she say? You learn to cope with the loss. Some days are easier than others. So she lost Michael
Yes.
10 years or so ago, and she wants to know the name of your book, Angela.
What's that?
She wants to know the name of your book.
Called Focus: Families of Children United in Spirit.
Okay,
I'm so sorry that I didn't even,
No.
all this time we talked, I never thought about you
No.
showing your book.
We have it at the store, and it's there for people. It's our support group that we had. Regina and Monir Al-Khatib started the group when they lost their son, Mark Al-Khatib.
Yes.
How I got to know them. And then her and I went on to run the support group for 20 years. And then we put this book together, just stories of parents that went on.
Yeah.
Each individual story of loss and what helped them. And the back chapter is all like what we talked about, what not to say, what helpful things to say,
Right.
just hints to the people who even haven't had the loss. And going back to the friend thing, with friends that you lose, because we all lose friends over this, because they just don't know how to cope with this, seeing us in our grief.
It's hard. It's hard for people that hang tough around us.
But once you gain new friends that are, not that you need to replace a friend. It is heartbreaking to lose people, but it is also, you will also gain new people in your life, probably the ones that will help you more. And I have found we all go through that. You lose a lot of people in your life.
Yes.
But that's,
well, because we're never the same. We're never the same
Yeah.
people. I mean, and rightfully so. How could we
Right.
be?
Right.
But
So if somebody calls your store and wants to order the book, do you mail it out, or do I have to come in and grab it and send it?
nope, we can mail it. I believe it's $15. We have a supply. It's also on our website.
What's your website?
It's angelasangelsgifts.com. It probably right now I'm revamping my website. So if you call the store, you can probably just give us an order over the phone and we'll mail it right out.
All right. What's your phone number?
419-824-4079.
All right. That is awesome. All right, Angela, thank you for going on. Wow. This has really been an inspiring,
Yeah.
a little challenging for me because, I'm a goofball and I'm the wacky part of these, but it was awesome. And I pray to God that I never belong or ever am whatever. I don't want to be in your club.
Right.
I just don't.
Right.
But if I do, if I were to be part of the club, I know that there's people like you and then my sister and my sister-in-law and brother-in-law, there's people out there that you can rally around. And sometimes you don't even say anything. You just hug.
You just hug. That's
You
all.
just hug and you cry and you just hang out in the same space.
Yep.
And for some people that's just really troubling. So Angela, thank you for going on. I really, really appreciate it.
Very honored.
Thank you, Angela. I love you.
I love you.
And we're grateful you were here with us today. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. Thank you, Claudia.
Take care. Next time she is going to be in the studio with all of us when Jim gets the podcast studio done. We're working on that.
Yeah.
So, wow, you got through it. I'm proud of you. You know what? There he is right there. I was going to have,
That's our kid.
I'm going to bring her back. All right. Angela, do you have a picture of Nick?
Oh, yeah.
Hold him up to the camera so people get a look at these studs.
That's very sweet of you.
Yeah.
Very sweet of you, Denny.
Look at that.
Yeah. God bless them.
Guys, those boys are dancing in heaven. I love it.
They look kind of similar, don't they?
They do. A couple of manly men is what they look like.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right. Thank you for doing that, Angela. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Angela.
All right.
All right.
Do you want to talk about next week? Or you just want to sign off and say, see you later. Me and Claudia is going to
Well,
the bar.
Actually, next week, we're going to be talking to the educator from this company. So
From Rescue?
we're going to be talking about flower essences and how amazing they are and beautiful.
A
And
natural stress relief.
yeah. So we're going to be with Nelson Bach. And we're going to talk about flower essences.
Okay.
And yeah, so that's what we're going to do.
All right, we'll do that next week. And
right.
hopefully everybody watching, I believe this is our most viewed podcast we've ever had. So I thank you. I pray that you'll share it. And I will put together the audio podcast, and that'll be downloadable on Friday, available for all you get your podcasts, wherever you get it. Plus, I'll link it up to Claudia's Facebook page so you can grab it, because sometimes it's easier to listen on audio because our looks are so distracting. We're so good looking. And plus, then you can send it out to people, and people can drive around their car. They can listen to it because everybody knows somebody who's suffered.
Yes.
Everybody knows, may not be loss of a child, but everybody knows. And I think just talking about it, or maybe hearing other people talk about it, will give others some relief. And that's all about having good health.
Yes.
Mental health is a huge, huge deal.
Yes. Mental, emotional, physical. It's all part of, what that's what holistic health is. It's the whole being. So.
Well, like always, Claudia, I'm going to give you the last word.
Wow. Thank you. So, so something I just want to say, well, I always remind people to stay the course, keep the faith, focus on the blessings. You guys hear me say this every week because I tell myself this every day. And I think there's great power in being willing to open our hearts through pain and allow the goodness of love and light and God to shine. There's great power in that. And to me, that's how we take these very difficult things in life and help transform them into a beautiful, there's, I hate to say it, but there's great power in suffering if we allow it to be a teacher. And so that's what I pray, is that people that are suffering, people that are dealing with loss, that you're able to take each day, open your heart a little wider, let the love in, and be around gentle people. Be gentle with yourself, be around those that are gentle with you, and nurture yourself. And, to me, walking with God is extremely important. I'm not one to get in conversations about religion. I respect all religions and people that believe what they believe. For me, it's about just walking with God and knowing that there's a force far greater than all of us that connects all of us, and that really, for me, brings meaning to this earthly world. So that's my prayer, is that more people can open their hearts and just fill it with beautiful, loving energy and light, and share it with ourselves and with others, and just take it one day at a time. I think that's how we heal, is just one day at a time. So thank you to everybody. We're really grateful you all tuned in. Thank you so much for joining us. A lot of people sent me messages today and throughout the week, and a lot of love out there. So focus on the love, everybody, and most of all, keep the faith. So blessings to everybody. Peace.